In this video, we are going to be creating the animations for our character and also adding a little bit more code to this character code here. So let's open up our player scene. And if it's not open at the top here, you can either click on the button here that says open in editor, or you can find player scene down the bottom and double click that. So once we've done that, we're going to switch into 2D mode and we're going to click on our animated sprite. And if you remember, all the way over here, we created a new sprite frames in the first video. Now we're going to click on that and it's going to open it down the bottom. So we should have down here an animation called default. I'm going to double click that and change the name to idle. We're going to create a few more animations. So if we add an animation, this one is going to be called running or run. And we're going to have another one called jump up. And another one called jump down. And one more called hurt. Now, apologies for this next part. I don't know how much the screen is jumping around. It seemed like it was fine in the first video, so let's hope that it's all good here. We're going to click this button, add frames from a sprite sheet. The sprite sheet that I want to use is in sprites, and it's under player, and it's called player. Now, of course, if you've imported this a different way, and you've got just the Sunnyland sprites in there, you may find them somewhere different, but it's the player one that you want, and we click open. Now this setting here, it doesn't always remember it for me. We want to go up the top here, and I know that there is 6 sprites across and 6 sprites down. And also, I've got the hurt one selected here. So whichever animation you've got selected, this is what you want to do. So I'm going to just do the hurt one, and then I'll do them in order. So the hurt one is these two. You want to select them from left to right. I'm going to add 2 frames to hurt. The idle one, I'm going to do the same thing, click open, and it doesn't remember. And this is really annoying, but we'll deal with it. It's the first 4 sprites there. I'm going to add those frames. Jump up is an easy one. It's this bottom left one here. That's the wrong one. I'm just going to copy, that's jump down, so which was the one next to it. But I can just copy that and then paste that there. I can fix this one so that it's going to be, and that is jump down. And then run. It's the second row. So we're not using the ladder and we're not using the crouch. We'll add those frames in. So now that I've done that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go to the animation player. And over here on the right hand side, there's a button that says import. I'm going to import those animations. They come into here and we've got all our animations ready to go. Now this probably saved us about 20 minutes because making the animations in here is a little bit more time consuming to explain. So we're good to go. So we've got these animations in here now, and we can go ahead and add code to make it work. So let's go up to our animation player, our player script, and we'll close the animation tab, click that. So I get this script here. We're going to add a few functions. So one of the functions that I'm going to add is going to be func update state. And I'm pretty sure that in this one, I don't take any arguments into there. So what the idea is here is we're going to check all the potential states that the player could be in and then update their animation state based on that. So let's go ahead and update our state. First though, if they're ever hurt, if animation state equals state.hurt, we are going to return. Okay, so when they're hurt, we pretty much want to lock them out of updating it. It's never going to change until we manually change it back. And we'll do that in the animation player, you'll see later on. Then, if is on floor, if velocity equals vector2.0, so this is just a short way of saying the x and the y are at 0, enum state equals state.idle. So if they're not moving and they're on the floor, then we set it to state.idle. That's the only state it could be. Elif velocity.x not equal to 0, or we could say, yeah, velocity.x is not equal to 0, so this is the x position is moving, equals state.run. So running. Now notice the indentations here. I haven't really talked about this. I am assuming some knowledge of programming, or at least Python, but we've got the animation, the indentations. So this here is a function. It's all the way to the left-hand side. Then I've got an indentation, and so everything that's indented here is in this function. And then I've got an if statement here. So if this variable has that value, then I indent, and everything that's in this indentation will be done if that is true, and so on. Now down here, notice the indentation here. It should line up with if is on floor. We want it else. So if it's not on the floor, in other words, if velocity dot y is less than 0, enum state equals state dot jump up. So if they're going up, we want to change it to that. Else enum state equals state dot jump down. Now if it is equal to 0, that's at the peak of the jump. There's no animation for that. It's only going to be a split second in the code. We're not even going to account for that. Okay, so we are just going to, it's going to go up, and then once they start going down, the animation is going to switch to down. So this is our update state function. It updates the animation state variable, which is this one here. Now we need to have an update animation function, func update animation. And this is going to also accept the direction. The reason for that is we want to flip the sprite if we're going one direction or the other. So if direction is greater than 0, animator dot flip h equals false. You might say, how do I know what all of this stuff is? Well, you can click on any of these things, hold control and click on them, and it will give you help on this. So I can see here all the properties of every animated sprite 2D. There's an animation name that might be playing. You can set it to autoplay an animation. You can do all this in code. There's also tick boxes you can do in the actual animated sprite. There is flip horizontal, flip vertical, and these are Boolean values, so they could be true or false. There's also a bunch of methods which we'll use, like play and stop and so on. And then there's signals that happen, animation finished, animation looped, and you can tell it what to do when those signals go out. So let's go back to our player code. We'll go back down to where we were. Here we are. If elif direction is less than 0, animator.flip h equals true. Notice I didn't just do else, because that would mean if direction is equal to 0, it's always going to flip the sprite, and it'll always just be pointing to the left every time you stop. So if the direction is 0, we're not going to do anything. It's just going to stay wherever it was last facing. So let's go next line. We're going to do a match statement. This is a switch statement or a case statement. It's exactly the same thing, and we're going to match enum state. We're going to match with state.idle. And if this is the case, then animation player.play idle. Now this part's pretty straightforward. I'll try and get my mouse. These things are really annoying when they pop up, especially when someone's trying to follow along. State.running, animation player.play run. And then we've got state.jump up, animation player.play jump up. And you can kind of guess where this is going. It looks like I've got an error though, so I'll check what that is in a sec. Jump down. No, it's fine. Animation player.play jump down. And the last one is state.hurt. Which is animation underscore player.play hurt. Okay, so now if I Control S, if we were to run the program now, nothing's going to happen. We actually need to tell it to run these update functions. So we're going to update the state, and then we're going to update the animations. Update animation and send it direction, which will come from here. So if we open our world scene now and go to 2D, you should see that we have got our player sprite. And we can go debug, and visible collision shapes will be turned off. Now our player is currently set to that animation, which we don't want. So let's go into the animation player. We'll find the idle one, and we'll set that to be the auto play. So if we come over here and hit this button, this is going to be the sprite that automatically plays. Now there's a few other things that we'll need to do. One of them is we need to go to the hurt and turn off looping. That will be important later. I just don't want to forget it at the moment. So let's now hit play. Oops, that's a wrong one. We'll go to world and hit play. Okay, so we can't see the collision shapes, but our guy is clearly animated. I can move left and right. I can jump. Oh, and I'm pretty sure I put a comment, a text on the last video saying this, but the way to fix the error that we were getting was down here. It should be direction times speed by acceleration, not speed direction times acceleration. So fix that up. And this here, you can change it now to acceleration divided by 2, and that will be much better. So we've got, we go, kind of slides. If you think that that is too slidey, you can get rid of the divided by 2. Hit play, and you'll stop a lot quicker. Jumping feels good, goes up, goes down, and idles. So we've got all our movement done. We will add the code and fix up the hurt animation in a later video.